Hello and welcome to the UIN Jakarta podcast. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into the world of literature and have a little chit chat with one of the most brilliant minds in the field. I'm your host, Hasina Wardak, and today we have a very special guest, an author and entrepreneur from Netherlands, Laura Shermans, the author of Azadi. Hi, Laura. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Hasina. Really good to see you again.
It's really nice to see you again. How do you feel being over here?
Oh, it's so nice to be here for the second time. I always have good memories of the first time I came here to the university where everybody was so kind to me.
So, how long did it take you to write your book?
Altogether, it took me, the research itself was about 10 years before I started writing the book.
Yes.
And then to write a book altogether, I did it in about 3 years.
Okay.
But on and off because I have to run my own business as well. So I didn't have full time to focus on the book.
Kindly tell us more on what you love about the Kashmir people and how does your book describe the development of their personalities?
Well, the people of Kashmir are so kind-hearted and loving, peaceful people that have a very deep culture as well. Look at the dress that I'm wearing today. It's traditional Kashmiri.
I was actually just going to tell her that I love her dress and how she actually resembles the Kashmiri people. She looks so beautiful with everything, this dress and the jewelry she's wearing. She's actually representing the Kashmiri and Pakistani woman and also the Afghan woman as well, because this is our everyday attire.
I wish I was an Afghan or a Pakistani or a Kashmiri because then I would be so beautiful, right?
No,
Thank you for the compliment.
No, you're already very beautiful yourself. You once told me about a story where people in Pakistan, they mistaken you as a Pashtun.
Yes, during my last visit.
This traditional
Shalwar kameez, yes.
Kameez. So can you tell our viewers a little story about
I was on the way back from Lahore to Islamabad and we got lost and we had a coffee on the roadside and it was a small group of men that were passing by and then they were talking with each other and looking at me and I asked the driver, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
I said, oh, she must be a Pashtun from the tribal region who got lost somewhere in Punjab. But I considered it a compliment and I was actually very happy.
Yeah, I'm very glad that people have mistaking you that way because I'm a Pashtun myself. So if anybody calls you a Pashtun, I'm very proud of that. So what themes or messages are woven into your book and why do you think they're important?
Okay, the main message of my book is a message of peace and a message of a dialogue. Because there is no peace in Kashmir. There's never been peace in Kashmir. Yes. And if there was peace for a period of a couple of years, it was not a real peace.
Yes.
So the first one is a message of peace. The second one is there need to be a dialogue. There was never a long-lasting dialogue among the people of Kashmir between India and Pakistan. It would start, it would continue for maybe a couple of years and then it would stop again. So if we want to move forward to find a solution to the conflict, we have to start talking and sit around the negotiating table. Yes. And it's just not happening, unfortunately.
Yes, and to my knowledge, the conflict in Kashmir is since 1947.
That is correct.
And it's because the India and Pakistan claimed the entire former state of Jammu and Kashmir. So Kashmir it has been the longest war that
after the Second World War. Yes,
one of the longest wars that have happened until now, and it's very sad to see that nobody's fighting for it, and the people of Kashmir don't. They don't have the courage, they don't have the right to fight for the freedom of their own country because the two countries have really, took over the place so much that the people have lost their ways and what they can do. They've just, made it so normal. This conflict has become so normal for them that.
And it is difficult for the people of Kashmir to get engaged in finding a solution or to stand up to tell the world what's going on because of the oppression and the human rights violation. One of my friends, about whom I extensively write in the book, Khurram Parvez, he's been in jail for almost 2 years right now because he's a human rights defender.
Oh,
and that is very sad. And he's not the only one. There are thousands of political prisoners in Kashmir. Yes. And this has to change. The problem is that because of geopolitical reasons, the international community is closing its eyes and looking the other way.
Yes.
So the people of Kashmir, they remain voiceless all over the world.
Yes.
So that is also one of the reasons why I wanted to write a book on Kashmir, to give not myself a voice, but to give the people of Kashmir a voice. So
Yes.
to engage them in a dialogue, to engage them in interviews, to invite them to different platforms, to actually start speaking about the conflict.
Yes. All right. How did your personal experience or background influence the story or characters in your book?
I think, first of all, we have to go back to my own father. He was born during the Second World War in a Japanese prison camp. So he is a victim of war and conflict himself. So I grew up all my life listening to stories about the prison camp, about the Second World War, about the fact that they couldn't find food, about the fact that the Japanese were controlling them.
Yes.
So that was very difficult for them. And until today, my father is almost 81 years old. He's still struggling with that emotionally at times. So when you go to Kashmir, the people of Kashmir have been living under the oppression of the gun for more than 70 years. So we go to the third, fourth generation right now, and they don't have any freedom. So they are also suffering emotionally. I'm from the West. I have a voice. I don't go to jail tomorrow if I speak out about Kashmir. So we need to find ways and means to help them.
Yes. What was the most challenging part of writing your book? I mean, 10 years of writing a book.
No, 10 years research, 3 years writing the book.
10 years research for a book, it must be very hard. So what was the most challenging part of writing it, and how did you overcome?
I think the most difficult part was not writing the book, but the most difficult part was I started writing the book in September 2015, and in April 2016, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 of cancer.
Oh.
So she passed away after a year and a half, and in between, my father suffered a massive heart attack. So I had to take care of my mother, of my father, of the family business that we are having. At the same time, I had to write the book. So I was struggling with a lot of things and also losing my mother during that time. I think that was the most difficult part because I wanted the book to be ready before she would pass away. And I couldn't finish it in time. And in the end, I remember her, she told me to push it, like write faster, do it fast. I said, I can't do it. And then I told her, Mom, by the time the book is ready, you're going to be in heaven, and then you can watch me from heaven.
I mean, I'm sure your mother must be very proud of you today, and the amount of obstacles that you have faced, and today, you know, the book has been so good and it's been so popular that everyone loves it. I'm sure your mother is very proud of you.
I hope so.
And you know, all your hard work has paid off. All right, Laura, can you share a funny or interesting anecdote from your research process that our listeners might enjoy?
I think the funniest little hurdle I came face to face with, was just before publication of the book, actually. You have the book right next to you, right? So last year I was working with my publisher, I mean, literally day and night, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day during the Christmas and New Year's holidays to get the book published. And it is really hard work because you have to check every single detail. So by the time the book was really about to go to the printers, we noticed a little mistake on the front cover. And we almost didn't see it because I cannot remember exactly, but I think it was on the front page below that that the same word was written 2 times. And it was former vice president, I think. So it was the foreword by former vice president of the Republic of Indonesia. And it was written by former 2 times. And we didn't see it for months. We had not noticed it. So the whole book was ready. So now it can go to the printers. So we almost had the book wrongly printed. Can you imagine if you have a mistake on the front cover? So we had a big laugh about it in the end, but it was just by coincidence that we found out that it was wrong.
Is there a specific scene or chapter in the book that you are particularly proud of, or something that happened in Kashmir while you're researching and why it's significant?
I think there's one part of the book about the human rights abuses that I'm not proud of, but it touched me in many ways because it speaks about my Kashmiri friend Quram Parvez, who's been in jail for the last couple of years. And he also lost his lower part of his leg due to a roadside bomb. It was in the early 1990s when he went out with a group of friends that he was working with. So, and I was one of the first or the second person that he told the story to about what happened exactly. And the way he told me the story, he was so calm. And I mean, he lost his leg, and there was no anger. And I asked him once, why are you not angry that you lost your leg? And then he looked at me, and then he looked the other way, and then he said, I can't be angry, Laura, because that will make my whole life more difficult. But he managed to deal with the anger that his friend was killed, the driver was killed. It was a very traumatizing moment in his life that he told me into detail, but he could live with it, and he accepted it. So I'm very proud of him that he can live that way. But at the same time, it's also very painful for me to listen to his stories because handicapped because he's a good friend of mine.
Yes. I mean, that you spoke about your friend who lost his leg, it really reminds me of something that I've not been to Afghanistan in the past 7 years, and sometimes when I see in media of how people have become handicapped due to the bombing in
the roadside bomb,
yes. You know, it's really sad to see little kids on the streets trying to find food for their family just because their parents have been handicapped due to the roadside bombing.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you are, you know, it's a usual day of your life, and
it was a usual day for him as well. Yes, no, but this is very, for me, it is very emotional. And I think it is perfectly okay to cry. Those people in Afghanistan, in Kashmir, what's happening in Gaza right now, is that the normal people become victims of conflict. And this is exactly the reason why I decided to write this book.
So, you know, how you spoke about your friend who became handicapped, I really feel for him because I mean, I haven't been to Afghanistan in the past 7 years, but sometimes when I see on media of how, you know, there are people who have become handicapped, who have lost their legs, who've lost their hands, you know, who've lost their eyes due to the roadside bombing, it's so sad. It makes me very emotional to think about it, because you see kids working on the streets just to find food for their family, and you know, when you ask them why are they working, it's because, oh, you know, my father is handicapped, he can't work, he lost his leg due to the roadside bombing, or you know, it's really sad, you know. For me, you know, I've lived in Indonesia. I face so many obstacles, but when I really think about the kids of Afghanistan, it makes me, you know, think twice about my problems in life. So
I think we should be very grateful here in Indonesia that we are
Yes.
living in such a peaceful country.
yes,
And when you say that your father decided to settle
Yes.
down here, he did it for a reason. And I'm
Yes.
sure he loves his own country, Afghanistan,
Yes.
very much. But he wants to protect all his children as well
Yes.
from war and conflict, the same as
Yes.
Quram got affected, the way Afghan children are affected by conflict,
Yes.
the way what is happening in Gaza right now. I mean,
Yeah.
would you really want to be in Gaza right now, where every 10 minutes a child is dying because of the
Yes.
Israeli bombing? Conflict is damaging to people emotionally and
Yes.
physically and in many different ways. And this is exactly the reason why I wanted to write a book, because I wanted to bring attention to a conflict which is generally forgotten
Yes.
in the international political stage, because of political reasons, the West doesn't want to pay attention to Kashmir, but it is so important for the people because it's a conflict between countries,
Yes.
between governments, between military. But who are the victims? Ordinary Kashmiris.
Yes. Now, tell us about your writing routine. Do you have any specific habits or rituals that help you stay productive?
I think it's the same as studying. You have to study every day.
Yes. Yes.
You have to study every day, I think at least 6 hours a day. I don't have time, I didn't have the time to write 6 hours a day, but you have to write every day, even if
Yes.
it's just one paragraph. You need to keep on going. So
Yeah.
one paragraph becomes one page, becomes one chapter, becomes one book.
Mm-mm.
And if you start giving up on that, okay, I'm not going to write for, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 months, you stop a project, and then it
Yes.
gets difficult to pick it up again.
Yes.
So just the self-discipline, that knowing that no matter how hard it is, or some chapters were really hard for me to write,
Yeah.
like in the end it's going to be just fine. You have to push yourself. But it's the same as when you study.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
How do you hope your book will impact readers, and what do you want them to take away from it?
I think, as I said earlier, the main objective of the book is to pass on a message of peace, and the fact that there should be a dialogue established between India and Pakistan, but also one that includes the people of Kashmir. And you can read all about it in the book. I speak about Niagara, which is a proposal that a Kashmiri friend of mine prepared, that all the stakeholders of the conflict are actually coming together in a meeting to express their grievances and to tell to the world, or to tell to each other, how they look at the conflict.
Yes.
And as long that is not happening, you're in a deadlock situation. And as long as you're in a deadlock situation, nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to change, and more people are going to die. Human rights violations are going to continue to be violated. And you need to know that both India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons, and they have fought wars over Kashmir. So India and Pakistan need to start talking to each other as well.
Yes. And it makes me so proud that I have a friend who wrote about this topic that is so important to share with the world. I mean, I am so happy that I got to meet you, and I got to see that you have made something that can, impact the world and change the world in a better way.
That is the aim, yes.
I'm very happy about this book, and I'm really proud of you. I mean, I don't have the right to say that, but I'm really proud of what you have done.
I'm really thankful.
All right. So you've spent some time in Kashmir. I would like to ask you, what was that one thing that really motivated you to wake up the next morning and, work more harder and research more for your book?
It was just the people of Kashmir, because I started writing articles for the Jakarta Post at that time and other newspapers about the Kashmir conflict. And I got emails from Kashmiris that they were supporting me and that they were grateful that somebody from the West was actually touching the issue of Kashmir. So that is the main reason. I gave it a long thought process before I started to write a book, like why am I going to write a book on Kashmir and why I'm not going to study another subject. But in the end, it was because of the people, and the people who are suffering, the people who are being oppressed in a conflict zone that is neglected on the international political stage.
Okay. So when you were over there, you would live with the Kashmiri people in their house?
I would visit for short times. I would just make short visits, but I made many visits, but only to the Pakistani side. I haven't yet been to the Indian side.
Okay. So you once shared about how you weren't allowed to enter, in your book, you've written about how you didn't get visa to India. So why did the Indian government make it so crucial to the point where they didn't allow you to enter their country?
I think in the beginning there were some misunderstandings about me. That was the starting point. And secondly, it's because I touched the issue of the human rights abuses. And of course, no country wants to expose human rights abuses to the international community, which is fully understandable. I mean, Indonesia would be the same, other countries would be the same as well. But I think over the years we have come to an understanding that I don't have any bad intentions in Kashmir or to India as a state.
But you did visit India?
I haven't been there yet. No,
you haven't
been there? No, I haven't been there yet. I haven't applied for a visa for a very long time right now, but we speak at the time when I just started writing the book. Yes, it was. Actually, my visa was not cancelled. It was in process.
Okay.
But it was never rejected. It was in process.
Would you like to go there?
Of course, I would love to go. Of course, I have to see Kashmir on the Indian side.
All right. So I was going to ask you, since you really love the Kashmiri culture, which we can see over here, any favorite foods from Kashmir that you really love?
I think everything is so delicious there. I think I'm bad with names, but whenever you get something, well, even from the entire region, whether it is India or Pakistan or Kashmir or Afghanistan, the food everywhere is delicious. You go there and you add some kilos because you can't stop eating.
Okay. So I think we've spoken enough about the book and enough of the crying as well. So let's talk about a couple of weeks ago, Laura had come to our university, and because of her, I also got the chance to visit all the other campuses in over here. So we just didn't go over here, which is the first campus. We got to go to the second campus, to the third campus, and we got to visit all the faculties. We couldn't go to all of them one by one because that would just take days.
Several days, exactly.
It's such a big campus. So what do you think about our university? What are your views about it?
It's a huge university with a huge campus, and it's so well organized, and it's so well. It's such a good ambience here for the students to be.
Yes.
And what impressed me most is that it is an Islamic university,
yes.
and we speak nowadays about the Islamophobia, about the gaps between the West and the Muslim world.
Yes.
And here, all the women, all the girls are wearing a headscarf.
Yes.
So basically, I was the only one here not wearing a headscarf, and I'm not a Muslim either.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, can I come here because I'm not a Muslim? And when I ask, can I study here if I want to? Yes, of course. We welcome all different faiths, and we understand that there are cultural differences, and even there are cultural differences between the Indonesian students and the foreign students.
Yes.
And I was made so welcome here.
Yes.
And that's what I like most about it, and that's why I enjoyed coming back again here today.
Thank you so much for coming. I mean, would you consider studying over here?
If I could, I would. Yes, of course, because it's about bridging. It's always, you always have to bridge problems, right? And then I would be so proud and honored to be here because it's nice also to be here. It's a really nice university.
Yeah. So all the viewers who are watching us right now from abroad, if you want to study over here,
you should,
and you're in doubt, you should come. Just see, Laura just said that she's really considering to come and study over here. All right. So I want to talk about something that you just said about, because our university is a state Islamic university, and you once shared with me how important it is in our life to have some religious values, strict religious values in our lives. Could you elaborate a little bit more about that with our viewers?
I think in many ways, when I have discussions with friends of mine, what is happening in the world right now is that especially in Western countries, people are losing their religious values, especially. And I think that's not a good thing because it's all becoming about money.
Yes.
And money is not everything in this world. And I believe that therefore religious values are important because it changes our mindset and it changes our attitude as well. But if we only think about money, about growing into our careers, in having a bigger car, in having a more expensive house, the mindset is changing, and I think it's not changing for the better, it's changing for the worse. So that's why religious values, whether they are Muslim or Christian or Buddhist, it is extremely important.
Yes. Are there any upcoming projects or future works you'd like to share with our audience?
I have just started with my promotion of my own book. It was published in April, but then I was also quite busy. So only since the last couple of months, I have done a lot of direct marketing to send out a lot of emails to people and organizations to introduce my book. So for the time being, I'm still focused on that. But if I'm going to engage in any project in the future, when I look at it, how I look at it, it always has to be something related to dialogue and peace. We don't want to create more conflict in the world because there is already enough. We should come to peaceful solutions of conflict. For instance, in Papua, where there is an issue here in Papua. So if I were to write something about Papua, it's not about making the problems in Papua bigger, but to bring the aggrieved parties closer together.
All right. So where can our viewers who would like to, read your book, where can they access it from?
Okay. I'm not sure if it's available in Indonesia yet, but definitely on Amazon.com. Most of my friends, they are ordering it on Amazon.com. And if right now you order it on Amazon.com in the US and have it shipped to Indonesia, it's really cheap at this point. You get like an 80% discount. It is only on Amazon.com in the United States. All other countries, they give it at quite a high price of $30 US. So go and get it on Amazon and order like 10 and then share it with friends.
So, wait, obviously, for us, there's an application called Kobo.
Oh yes, Kobo, yes. You can get it on Kobo, but that is the ebook.
Oh, the ebook.
That is the ebook. You don't get the print copy, but the ebook you can read it as well, the same as on Amazon.com. But the Kobo ebook is very good as well.
All right. So if you can't purchase the book, you can at least read it
on the Kobo.
on the Kobo app. All right. Thank you so much, Laura, for being with us. It was such a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. And this podcast is very different uh, than the content that we usually make for the Win Jakarta YouTube. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about such a amazing topic and something that has to be spoken in the world. So thank you so much for being here. And is there anything you want to say to our viewers before we...
No, I'm very grateful to be here today, and the fact that you ask about the book as well, because it is a very important subject that is just neglected on the international stage.
Yes.
So I'm thanking you
All
and the
right.
university.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Such a pleasure. And thank you so much for everyone who has viewed our podcast until the end. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. Till we meet next time, goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.